Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. Oh, I can't believe they kept us here until noon. Northball was already running long into the night even before the murder occurred. You'd like nothing more than to catch up on your lost sleep, but you made a promise to Aster. This doesn't make any sense. Beatrice was with me and my brother the entire night. Right. You were there when she met with him in Sealwind. She couldn't have stolen the sword of spell-eating and have murdered her father. Not unless she had a wolf-like familiar, of course. I don't understand. Of all the people that could have done this, why would Sealwind suspect a blind woman? Mr. Cuthbert, could you defend Beatrice against these awful charges? I don't think I even need to. What? Beatrice is Ruby's client. I'm sure she'll be the one defending her. Well, that certainly puts my mind at ease. Clearly. What's wrong? I don't know if I'm asking too much, but could you still investigate the crime scene for me, Mr. Cuthbert? Man, shout out to Aster, even though he could literally be like, listen bro, you are going to defend her, and also you're going to investigate the crime scene or else it's off with your head. But no, he's like, he's asking nicely. I love him. He's my favorite. I stan, as the kids say. What? But we just said that Mr. Mora will. I know, and I don't doubt her abilities. But Beatrice is a dear friend of mine. I'd like every chance for her to be found innocent. He said that she was a dear friend. We must know each other since she's a Frege. But why would Mr. Mora, of all people, represent a member of a noble house? There's a lot of things you don't know about her. Of course, I'll also compensate you for your services. Consider yourself blessed. A commoner like you could only dream of a job like this. Alaric. But yes, it's true. Frankly, you should be at my feet. The Tiny Prince has a point, though. Payment from the Crown Prince does sound tempting. I can't believe this. Celeste returns to the ballroom. She's changed back into her normal clothes. Why? Someone gets murdered and you're like, alright, time to do a costume change. What's wrong? The people in the code room said that they couldn't find my sword. They told me that someone must have stolen it. Celeste, did your sword kill a second person? Well, I guess it didn't kill the first person, but your sword gets involved in a lot of murders, doesn't it? What? You was told that her sword had gone missing, someone else must have taken it. Why would someone want to steal Celeste's sword? So from your group, everyone else at the ball was an aristocrat. You do recall her saying that it was forged in the Eastern Kingdoms. Someone might have stolen it because of its rarity? We can probably keep an eye out for it while we investigate the matter. This might all just be some kind of mistake? Yeah, I hope so. But anyways, where should we start first? We should head to the crime scene. And I remember hearing that they found Lord Frege's body in his study. Let's go over there. Nothing to examine here, really, right? Each of these tables have a centerpiece of flowers on it. To be honest, it kinda looks tacky. The notion of aesthetics must fly over the heads of peasants like us. Of course. These chandeliers look fancy enough to be worth a small fortune. The banking houses are loaded, aren't they?
Prepario Arcanum!
Alright. I could talk to you. I feel like that's better to do later. I'll just do it now. Are you worried about your missing sword? No. Well, yes, I am worried. But I'm sure it'll turn up eventually. Aw. She's trying her best to hide how worried she is. I hope you're able to find her sword somewhere. Where should we go next? The body was supposedly found in Lord Freyga's study on the top floor. We should probably start an investigation there. Makes sense to me. What do you think about me? I can't believe the infamous Tyrion Cuthbert doesn't know how to do a simple waltz. There was never any need to learn how to. How about it? You want to try dancing again? But Tyrion's on a job right now. What will Ash say if he sees us messing around? Aw. You can be such a buzzkill sometimes. What do you think of yourself? How many cases have we done together now? I don't know. I've honestly lost count. Is that to imply that there's been, like, cases in between, and that these are just the important ones? That's a fun implication. A year ago, I never would have guessed that I'd be the bodyguard of a lawyer. Okay, so it's been about a year. So that definitely means there's been more cases. I really am glad to have you here with me. I have no idea how I'd defend all these cases alone. Just don't let that praise go to your head. I'm not. What's about... Oh, I can't even present Aster. Why not? He's the best character. I noticed that you were teasing Steelwind earlier. Well, she started it. By doing what? It's none of your business. Okay. Yeah. I'm just messing around now. I think that's probably it. Freyga's study. Ooh. You arrive at the crime scene and see the usual swarm of Inquisition Knights. However, you also spot some members of the King's Guard. They must be working together since the victim is from one of the Pillar families. I wasn't expecting to see you here, Mr. Cuthbert. I thought Ruby Tomorrow was defending this case. Steelwood approaches you as you enter the study, and she's followed by an unexpected yet familiar face. Okay, so she's already been walloped by this point. Wallace, what are you doing here? Hey! He's here as my aide for the investigation. I don't doubt Wallace's abilities, but I can't think of any reason why Steelwind would need his help. But do you suppose it's none of your business? Anyways, we're here on behalf of Crown Prince Asta. He hired us to investigate this case independently. I see. I see. I'm sure he just wants to make sure the investigation goes smoothly. Well, if you're here on behalf of His Highness, I'll do whatever I can to help you. Our situation is quite unorthodox, but your goal remains the same. Perhaps Steelwind can tell you more about what happened. Man, oh, Azrael's gonna get so mad at us. He personally hired us to investigate, like, murder, make sure that, Beatrice gets off smoothly. And we're just gonna fucking start prosecuting her. Unfortunate for him. To be fair, she did it. But hopefully he'll believe us that she did it. Yeah. What's wrong? You can't see it. And the entire room is covered in traces of abjuration magic. Everything is glowing white. Right. That makes sense. There were several anti-magic fields covering the mana. Those fields probably left traces of abjuration everywhere. And I won't bother showing you the traces of abjuration I find while we're here.
Repario Arcanum!
Okay. There's a trace of illusion magic where the body was. The assailant must have used some kind of magical disguise. Or they turned themselves invisible. Or into a wolf. Oh. Alright, that's probably chill. It's a fireplace. The murderer have entered through here. That wouldn't be possible. The chimney is far too narrow. Even a small child wouldn't be thin enough to fit through it. I guess that rules out the tiny prints. There are several books about economics and politics. It doesn't look like there's anything of note. It's a painting of some sort of scholar. There's some text on it. Rook Brezignar, economic scholar and aristocratic accountant. This is another one that feels AI generated. Am I crazy? I don't know. Maybe I'm just broken. He was known in some circles as Rook the Cook, due to his ability to cook the books of the four-pillar houses. Rook the Cook. Sometimes I wish I could have a nickname like that. What about Crimson Demon? Not that one. Why not that one? There's a window that leads into this room. Could the murderer have escaped through here? No, the window doesn't open, and the glass is magically reinforced. Fair dues? There's a large mahogany table at the end of the room. Lord Frigga must have done his work here. It's a bookshelf filled with books. I wonder what kind of books Lord Frigga owned. Wait a minute. They're all blank. All of his real books are on the floor, or his desk. I guess that's just to look impressive. Oh right, the body. There's a pool of blood and a chalk outline where the body must have been. Great job, Tyrion. Alright. Let's talk to Steelwind. The murder. What can you tell me about the murder? William Frigga was found dead in this room after the lockdown was lifted. Wait, lockdown? What lockdown? From what we can tell, his throat had been slashed open with a letter opener. The cause of death was blood. Both of his carotid arteries were severed. Here's the autopsy report if you want a detailed description. Were you able to find the murder weapon? Yes, the murder left it at the crime scene. It was a letter opener owned by the victim. The murderer must have found it in this room and used it. There was one strange detail about the weapon. The handle was completely shattered. We're not sure what to make of that detail, but it's as if something crushed the handle using tremendous force. Right. It looked like a pretty beefy wolf. What could have caused the handle to shatter like that? Alright, lockdown. You mentioned that there was a lockdown. When did this happen? You didn't notice? The Inquisition did try to be discreet. But everyone noticed the commotion Beatrice and the two princes made over it. I suppose you two must have been lost in your own little world, weren't you? No. Well, anyways, you said that Lord Frigga's body was found after the lockdown. That means that something else must have happened prior. Supposedly, someone had broken into one of the Howdson exhibits. One of the magical artifacts was stolen. So there was also a theft last night? Does the managed lockdown system behave like the one at the Imperial Academy? The systems are somewhat different. Unlike the Imperial Academy, the lockdown only prevents people from leaving or entering the manor. So not all of the rooms were locked, but what about this specific room? This room does have abjuration walls that lock the door and prevent teleportation in and out of it. And in addition to that, the system places an anti-magic field over the manor. An anti-magic field? What is that? An anti-magic field is a spell that nullifies all magic within it. Right. How does that affect familiars, though? I would assume they would stay alive. But, passive becomes a 10 feet radius, and all magic within it. A spell that into a sphere instantly dissipates, and any mage that tries to cast a spell within his zone will fail to do so. Right. Okay, that's gonna be interesting. So there's gonna be like some points where they can do magic. And the system somehow covered the entire mana in this effect. If you noticed, there are several purple crystals embedded in the walls of the manor. Each of those crystals produce an anti-magic field during the lockdown. I wouldn't do anything though, right? Anyone magically connected to the sword of spell eating would be immune to the effects of anti-magic fields. So no one could cast magic during the entirety of the lockdown. Not exactly. Someone could have used a stolen artifact to circumvent it. Alright. Sorry from the top. You mentioned that someone could have used the stolen artifact to get past the anti-magic fields. Which artifact was it? It was the Sword of Spell Eating. That was the demon forged item that could supposedly nullify magic. If the legends were true, someone could have used it to counteract the lockdown system. After Lord Howson reported the theft, the Inquisition discreetly placed the manor on lockdown. They searched every room in the manor to try and find it. But it was eventually found in Beatrice's bedroom. Ooh. And that led them to believe that she had stolen it? That is correct. The King's Guard moved to arrest her, but Prince Astra ordered them to step down. It didn't look like she was planning on fleeing, so they planned to wait until after the party had ended. But then they found Lord Frega's body. Correct. We believe that she used the Storm Sword to nullify the magical locks and break into Lord Frega's study. But if she had the sword, why wouldn't she use that to commit the murder? We're not entirely sure. A few working theories. She might have wanted to prevent the theft from being tied to the murder. Or perhaps she had more confidence wielding a knife over a sword. Regardless of her reasons, it's clear that the sword wasn't the murder weapon. So she's not just being implicated in Lord Frega's murder, she's also being charged with stealing the Sword of Spell Eating. What possible reason would she have to do either of those crimes? Since the body was found here, was Lord Frega locked in this room during the lockdown? Yes. William Frega knew that this room should have been secure. He was supposedly in a bad mood, and had locked himself in the room for most of the night. He refused to let anyone in the room. The only person he spoke to after that was his daughter. His daughter? Are you talking about Miriam? No, Lord Frega had another daughter. I'm referring to Laefe Frega, Lord Frega's middle child. She tried to tell her father about the theft, but he was apparently preoccupied with something else. He said that he wanted to stay in his study for the rest of the night. But when did this happen? It was shortly before the lockdown was activated, a little after 1 AM. I see. She looks different than the other Fregas. Lord Frega retreated in the study, refused to speak with almost anyone, tried to serve him. He told him about the spell eating, really didn't care. That's interesting. You'd think you would a little. Laefe must have been the last person to see Lord Frega alive then. You should speak with her and get more details about Lord Frega's actions that night. By the way, Sealwind, you have a map of the manor. I do. Would you like a copy? Please and thank you. Shows the room relevant to the case. Second... Oh, there's a second floor? Okay. I guess that makes sense. It is a manor after all. Are there more? Anyway. Were there other witnesses aside from Laefe who saw Lord Frega that night? Perhaps someone heard what happened from a nearby room? There was someone who heard the altercation, but it was quite obscure. A servant was trapped in a storage room nearby. There's an air vent that connects this room with that storage room. He supposedly heard sound of a struggle through that vent. What did this witness hear? There was sound of a struggle before he heard Lord Frega choking on his own blood. When the lockdown was lifted, he informed the King's Guard of what he had heard. And that's when they discovered the body. I see. Who was the servant? I believe you actually know him. His name is Jean Hughes. Wait, Mr. Hughes is here? I never expect to see him again, much less here of all places. But if you ever heard the altercation, you'll definitely want to speak with him. I think I remember Jan? He was the janitor. That makes sense. I think I'm lacking a lot of information about the defendant. From the way you are both acting, you and Asta seem to know her. Your mentor didn't tell you about her? No, I try not to pry into her business. I see. I honestly don't know much about what happened either. But Beatrice was Lord Frega's eldest daughter and the former heir to House Frega. Former heir? About 5 years ago, she fled Frega Manor and went into hiding. None of us knew where she'd gone. She ignored any attempts we made to contact her. She even used her magic to prevent us from scrying her. Last night's ball was the first time in years that Asta and I had seen her. Alright, but if that's true, how did Miss Tamora meet her? Would you happen to know why Beatrice was meeting with her father after all these years? I have some ideas, but nothing concrete. I was hoping you could tell me. Tamora and Beatrice have both refused to disclose anything about the meeting. Damn it, what could the meeting have been about? Great question, I don't know. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Tamora anywhere in the manor. As a defendant's attorney, I would have thought that she'd be here to investigate the murder alongside you. That is strange. But Miss Tamora has always had her own way of doing things. Perhaps she's using a different strategy? Anyways, I imagine that she met with her father to request financial aid. And why do you say that? I have it on good authority that she was deeply in debt. That's the only reason why she would speak with her father after all these years. It's also why I believe she murdered her father. You think she murdered him for his inheritance? It's the only motive that makes sense. Alright, there's a lot of work through here. Prosecution will try to assert that Beatrice committed the murder. But what would she have needed to do to carry out all the actions described? So the first thing we need to do is narrow down the time in which the murder occurred. The body was discovered after the lockdown, and Laefe Frega saw Father Life before it was activated. He entered his study and she watched as the lock engaged. Murder occurred during the lockdown. Right. The murder must have occurred during the lockdown. But that means that the murder somehow got past the abjuration wards that protected this room. Those wards blocked teleportation, and they magically locked the only door leading into the room. Steelwood and the Inquisition believe that Beatrice used a sort of spell eating to get past them. Regardless of what they think, we need to assume that the murderer used some kind of magic nullification to get into Wilfred's study. But that's not necessarily true, is it? What if the murderer entered the room before William locked it? If they entered the room when William locked it, they would have been trapped here until he decided to leave. Not only that, they would have been discovered the moment the guards entered his study. Maybe they used some kind of invisibility. Or they could have teleported away the moment the King's Guard unlocked the door. Teleportation didn't occur. We didn't find any traces of conjuration magic. What about the theory of an invisible assailant? I'll admit that we did find traces of illusion magic, but the moment the guard saw the body, one of them cast Detect Magic. With that spell, they would have seen any invisible person hiding in this room. Wait, you can use Detect Magic like that? Of course. It's standard procedure. Like all spells, invisibility leaves traces of magic on the person it's cast on. So mages can use Detect Magic as a way to see through invisibility. So we know for sure that they weren't here before or after the lockdown. This means that whoever committed the murder used some way to bypass the observation walls that protect this room. Alright. The next thing to consider is the murder weapon. It was a lead opener that was presumably owned by William Frega. The murderer probably used to avoid leaving evidence that incriminated them. The murderer took the artifact from the storage room? Is that what we're considering it? Oh wait, I'm thinking of the sword. No, it's the... Take the murder weapon Frigga study. Right. The letter opener came from this room. The murderer probably wanted to avoid using a weapon that would have implicated them. So they decided to use it and leave it here after the deed was done. But that leaves a glaring hole in the prosecution's case. And what would that be, Mr. Cuthbert? Frigga. Beatrice Frigga is completely blind. Beatrice Frigga is completely blind. Even if she was somehow able to break into a highly guarded exhibit, how did she slip past the guards and enter Lord Frigga's study? Furthermore, how did she locate the letter opener if she couldn't see it in the first place? None of it makes sense. Committing this murder unseen would have been a tall order for anyone. I can hardly believe a blind person did all of this. You do well not to underestimate her, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You don't know her as I do. She's far more capable than you realize. She must be the one behind this. I suppose I wouldn't know, but the idea that Beatrice did any of this is still ludicrous. I suppose I can't change your mind about that. But I have to ask you a question, Mr. Cuthbert. What would you do if you discovered that one of your clients was guilty? What? I mean, I tend to have an insight into these sorts of things. That would never happen. I've already seen your uncanny ability to read people, but I'm only hypothetically speaking. So, what would you do if they were guilty? I suppose I'd withdraw and tell them to find another lawyer. And if no one else would represent them? I don't know. It would definitely be a hard choice for me. But I would never be able to represent them if I knew the truth. I can't stand by and let a murderer escape justice. I see. Why do you ask? No reason. Okay. Anyway, she's made her stance clear. We still have a lot of leads to follow up on. We should move somewhere else. But what do you think about... What do you think about me? I was quite surprised to see you two at the Lord's Ball yesterday. Yes, it's a long story. Clearly, you came accompanied by Beatrice Frigga. She was the last person I expected to see that night. I sensed some disdain in her voice. What, that she was buddy-buddy with us and not you? That makes sense. I wonder how Miriam is taking all of this. I'm surprised that you're worried about her. Last I remember, she was quite furious with you two for tricking her. She may be a pompous jerk, but she still lost her father. And now her long-lost sister is being charged with murder. Yeah, she must be going through a lot. Interesting response. I apologize that your investigation didn't lead anywhere, Miss McCoy. No, it's fine. My expectations weren't that high coming into this. But I still wanted to try, you know? If only I could have that much optimism. Is this the first time you face off against Miss Tamora? No, I've prosecuted her defendants before. I've actually had a better track record of convicting her defendants over yours. Wait, really? I wouldn't let that inflate your ego, though. Clearly more picky about who you defend. What's that supposed to mean? I tend to pick defendants that you're sure are innocent. I'm sure Mr. Moore does that too. Clearly not. Wallace? Not that I doubt his skills, but why choose Wallace as an aide? Well, I have my own reasons for choosing him, and he does owe me. Yeah, a reward from his steel wind. I won't be able to continue studying necromancy. You've been able to continue studying it? Yeah. Miss Stillman introduced me to Lord Asclepius. He belongs to one of the few noble houses that are so allowed to study necromancy. Unfortunately, because of that, they hold very little political power. I'm just glad I'm still able to continue my studies. Good for you, Wallace. I haven't seen Commander White since last night. He's currently collecting statements from the witnesses that night. I hope he's competent enough to do that correctly. Right, he hasn't had the best streak as of late. I believe in him, kind of. I think I'm lacking a lot of information about Beatrice Frege. From the way you were both acting, you and Asta seem to know her. Oh. My bad. I should have guessed. Talk to me about the best character, Eugene. Okay, that's probably it. Yeah. Alright, let's go to the... That looks just like a... Not Beatrice, Miriam's bedroom. That makes sense, though. Let's go to the storage room. You enter the storage room, hoping to investigate the air that connects to Lord Frege's study. When you come across a person laying on the floor. What? Jan? Is that you? Oh, man. What's with all the noise? I was having such a good nap, too. Mr. Hughes. Oh, it's you two. Why are you taking a nap in the storage room? I needed to take a break from all the chaos going on. Kingsguard won't let us finish until they finish investigating the murder. And this pompous noble shooed me away when I tried sleeping on one of the couches. I didn't expect anyone to find me here. Anyways, the prosecutor told us that you heard the murder from here during the lockdown. Do you think you could tell us about what happened? Sure, why not? My nap's kind of ruined anyways. So, you're working as a servant now? Not exactly. But I was part of the catering staff. The twins started their own food business after Frege threw us out of the academy. Right. Sorry about that? It's not your fault. Even if Redmond was still headmaster, I'm sure the board would have found some other way to get rid of us. Wait, are Valentine and Valerie here too? Oh, they just contracted some staff to Lord Frege for the Lord's Ball. I think a bunch of other businesses did the same thing. I wonder how they feel about this. They lent their services to the very man who got them fired in the first place. William must have offered them a lot of gold. Money is money, man. Man, I can't believe I caught myself pulling into another murder investigation. I have bad luck or what? The prosecution told us that you heard the altercation through the vents. Could you tell us exactly what you heard? Well, I didn't hear everything. I was taking a nap in this room when it happened. Why were you napping here? I didn't have a choice. I accidentally closed the door when the lock was engaged. Before I knew it, I was trapped here. Right, you recall Steelman mentioning that. Anyway, I heard the sound of some kind of struggle going on. I couldn't hear everything, but Lord Frege shouted, "Who are you? What do you want?" And then went on for a few seconds. Then I heard the sound of someone getting stabbed. Did you hear the voice of the assailant? They didn't say anything, but I did hear them. The voice was really raspy. I think they had a sore throat or something. Or they were trying to mask their voice? So, Frege didn't know who it was. Which makes Miriam seem innocent. Not Beatrice, my bad. Makes Beatrice seem innocent. Miriam too, frankly. But, Still, my wolf theory, my, Beatrice possessing, like, killing him via wolf, Hound of Baskerville style, that doesn't make sense for Mr. Frege to be like, to see a wolf and be like, hey, what's your name? Who are you? What do you want? It's like, what do you mean, what do you want? They want a little, like, I don't know, ducky treat? What the fuck do you mean? So that kind of ruins that theory? Maybe? Why should be another fucking arcane construct? There's my theory. Why did you enter the storage room anyways? The servants were complaining about rats running through the air vents. They sent me to take care of it. I heard one of them running in the vents upstairs, and I followed it here. I figured I had nowhere else to go, so I opened it up, put a trap down. After I was done, I tried to leave, but the door was locked. I didn't have anything else to do, so I took a nap. Maybe she possessed a rat too? Maybe she had a whole slew of animals on her side. Fucking Cinderella over here, you know? He only heard a few words before the murderer struck the final blow. Doesn't give you much to go on, but his testimony could become relevant later. Now, you should probably move somewhere else to gather more information. The fact that Tyrion isn't immediately like, what do you mean? They were like, who are you? The fact that's immediately striking his eye is, come on, man. Come on, Tracker, where are you? Achoo! As you enter Beatrice's room, you're unexpectedly met with a large cloud of dust. Wow, this place has not been cleaned. Oh, you're Laefe. Oh! Your vision clears up, and you realize that there's someone else in the room with you. Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. No, there's no need to apologize. But I would like to know what you're doing here. We're here on behalf of the Crown Prince. We're investigating the murder of William Frege. Oh, I see. Okay, I gotta change your voice. My apologies, I didn't quite get your name. My name is Laefe. Laefe Frege. So this is Laefe. According to Steelwind, she was the last person to see Lord Frege alive yesterday. She might have some information about how he was acting at night. Okay, so you're the middle child. I thought you were the oldest. I guess Beatrice is the oldest. Miriam is the youngest. I'm sorry for your loss, Lady Frege, but do you mind if I ask you some questions about last night? Of course. Prosecutor Steelwind told us that you were the last person to see him alive. Did you notice anything unusual about your father's behavior? Well, he was extremely upset about something. I think Beatrice may have offended him during the meeting. The servant said that he wanted to be left alone. He retreated into his study immediately after the meeting. I tried to speak with him when the theft was reported, but he didn't much care about the missing artifact. He told me to leave him alone and let the King's Guard investigate the sword. He was probably busy making changes to his will. Now that's an interesting thought. When did you speak with him last? It was before they activated the lockdown. It was a little after 1 AM that night. Alrighty. Makes sense. And do you have any idea what he was doing in his study? What? No, I have no idea. Like some fear from her? Lady Frege, is there something you're not telling us? It's important that we know about your father's actions before his death. I'm sorry. I don't know anything else. My father was a private man and didn't share much with anyone, even his own family. I wish I could be of more help, but I really don't know anything else. I refuse to believe that's why he was killed. She's clearly holding something back. If you can reveal what she's hiding through an argument, she might be more willing to cooperate. But she'll need more information about William and his will first. In the meantime, you should figure out what else she knows. I noticed that this room hasn't been cleaned recently. Do you know why? It's because I've forbidden the servants from cleaning this room. And why would you do that? Beatrice is very dear to me, and I couldn't bear to have her room disturbed after she left. This room was the only memory I had of her after she left. You suppose that makes sense? She must have been holding on to the hope that her sister would return. And what about the sort of spell eating? You know how it ended up in this room? I'm not sure. It's possible someone planted it here to friend Beatrice. I can't say why they would have chosen this room, though. What kind of person was your father? That says a lot. Doesn't look like William Frege was very beloved. My father was a complicated man. He was a brilliant scholar and businessman, but he was cold and distant father. I see. Did he have any enemies? As the head of House Frege, he controlled nearly every banking house in Wyvern. There were many people who resented his wealth and power. Can you remember anyone specific? Perhaps someone that he'd cited recently? There was the Lord Van Sanctus. The ruling Lord of AotA? Yes, I heard that he was recently involved in a court case. My father had been using the controversy as an opportunity to slowly take control of Van Sanctus Industries. And from what I've heard, he's been extremely bitter about that. I don't think his reputation must have taken a hit after the Dracogan trials. I doubt he'd get himself involved in another murder. But you can never be too sure. I want to speak with him and get more details. Although, would he even consider cooperating with you? Anyways, are there any other enemies he might have had? No, none that I can think of. What can you tell me about Beatrice Frege? I heard that she fled the Frege estate 5 years ago. Before she left, Beatrice was one of the most powerful mages I had ever seen. She is incredible. At the age of 18, her talent for magic had even eclipsed my father's. But it was never enough for him. What do you mean? Before my mother died, he desperately wanted a son. But he only ever had daughters. We all have different accents for some reason, but let's not focus on that too much, shall we? Everyone thought that Beatrice would inherit House Frege from my father, but our family knew the truth. William Frege would never leave his legacy in the hands of a woman. What? No matter how hard Beatrice tried, my father would never acknowledge her accomplishments. He was extremely cold to her. He constantly belittled her achievements and dismissed anything she said to him. And after the accident, he used her disability as an excuse to take away the little influence she had. It was an accident that gave her a disability? Is that why she's blind? If it's not too painful for you, could you tell me more about Beatrice's accident? Is this even relevant to the investigation? Any small detail could make a difference. I need to learn everything I can. I'm not sure about exactly what happened, but it was a magical experiment gone wrong. Beatrice was working on a project at the Imperial Academy. She was trying to create a new spell formula. We're still not sure what happened, but there was an adverse magical reaction. The resulting explosion seriously injured her and left her completely blind. I can't imagine how she must have taken that. Actually, she was probably the most unfazed by what happened. But that didn't matter. My father saw his opportunity. He told me that he was relieving her for duty so that she could recover. But I knew the truth. He was going to take away her political power and social standing. She was reduced to a mere decoration for our home. And that must have been why she left? Did she contact you during the time that she was missing? No, no one had heard from her during that time. But as much as I was worried for her, I was also a little happy. Unlike Miriam and I, she had finally broken free from my father. I have no idea what would have caused her to return here. Alright. I guess examine.
Repario Arcanum.
What? Sword-shaped? There's a trace of transmutation magic on the bed. I can't see it clearly. Let me take a closer look. It's Crimson Lotus! What? It's my sword! What? I never knew that her sword had a name. So this is where it's been. Why would it be here? Alright, so if they conceal the actual sword, then what you would do is you take Celeste's sword, you replace it with the demon sword, and then you use the like the I don't know, the negative space in between the use the negative space between the like anti-magic barriers, and that's how you kill him. The sword was never involved with anything, it was never stolen. I mean, maybe we should go and actually check up on the sword, but still. But, okay, that makes sense. That does make sense. I think I'm trying to piece things together. This is also the room where they found the sword of spell eating. Are the two thefts related somehow? But why? One thing similar about them is that they're both swords. Something more to this. But what? Why'd the sword still be here, not in, like, a compound somewhere? Maybe I'm wrong. I think you've learned everything you can for now. Perhaps you should move somewhere else. Oh, I still want to look around. It's a highly extravagant bed. It looks similar to the one at Miriam's dome. It's a dresser covered in a layer of dust. It doesn't look like it's been touched in years. It's a table for guests, but it's extremely dusty. Sitting room, sure. Explore the manor further and find one of its many sitting rooms. And there you happen to spot a very familiar face. Sipping on a glass of wine, and his expression turns disdainful the moment you enter the room. Oh, wonderful. As if my day couldn't have gotten any worse. Lord Sanctus, what are you doing here? The head of a noble house had just been murdered. I can't very well return to AotA when my affairs are in such disarray. Anyways, forget what I'm doing here. Why are you doing here? Oh, I just wanted to have a friendly chat with one of my favorite noblemen. I hear that you've been keeping busy since we last met. It must be difficult losing your empire at House Frega. Ugh. Tyrion, we do need his help. Is that so? And what makes you think I'd ever help the likes of you? Because it would take suspicion off of you, and let's face it, with your reputation, you could use all the help you can get. How dare you? I'll have you know that I am still a respected member of the house, of the nobility. Respected? Is that why everyone is talking about Johann and Justin Way's death? Because the way I see it, being involved in another scandal would destroy what little remains of your reputation. But it makes no difference to me, and to be perfectly honest, I'd like nothing more than to drag you onto the stand and embarrass you a second time. Ugh. You practically hear him grinding his teeth together. Very well. If it means I won't have to endure your presence any longer, I'll oblige and answer your questions. Gosh. Honestly, it's just one mess after another with you. Mess? Wouldn't you have much to gain from William Fricka's death? Now, on a surface level, you might be right. But it's far more complicated than that. House Frega controls the banking houses. They are the main pillar of support for Wyverngarde's economy. William's death could have unimaginable economic consequences, regardless of who inherits his house. I wouldn't be foolish enough to do something like that. That remains to be seen. Think what you will. There are others who would benefit from William Fricka's death. You mentioned that other people would benefit from Frigga's death. Who specifically? If I had to venture a guess, I would say Lucio Steelwind benefits the most. You mean the prosecutor's father? But you just said that Lord Frigga's death would have unimaginable consequences for the economy. Heh. Do you think that brute cares about Wyvernguard's economy? No, all that man cares about is power. Pure and physical power. House Steelwind and House Frigga have been fighting for control of Wyvernguard for generations. And in this long-lasting era of peace, the Steelwind's military have become far less valuable to the crown. If it weren't for Lady Steelwind's engagements to the Crown Prince, they might not even be considered a pillar family anymore. The death of William Frigga is probably exactly what Lucio Steelwind had been waiting for. And if our economies were to suffer, it would cause civil unrest. In a scenario like that, the Crown would have to rely on Steelwind's forces to maintain order. That does make sense? Could Arya's father really be involved in this? Sure, why not? It's clear that you think Lucio Steelwind would have much to gain from this. But can you think of anyone else? Well, there is Harold Haraldson. That can't be his real name. What would Mr. Haraldson possibly gain from Frigga's death? From what I've heard, William was planning to defund the Haraldson Hall of History. Really? Why would he do that? I'm not sure of the specifics. But supposedly, Lord Haraldson has refused to omit the less flattering parts of Wyvernguard's history from his exhibits. It's gone blatant enough that he's drawn the ire of the king himself. They actually got into a very heated argument during the Lord's Ball about it. I heard that William declared he would be removing House Haraldson from his estate. Don't want to suspect Mr. Haraldson, but you do need to examine every possibility. As the curator, he would have the easiest access to the sword and spell eating, and he could have staged a robbery to cover his tracks. At the very least, you should give Mr. Haraldson a chance to explain himself. He didn't do it. He's got a monkey. Anybody with a monkey can be trusted. What can you tell me about the defendant in this case? What? She's your client. Surely you know her better than I. Humor me. Well, I'm sure you're aware that she fled the Frigga estate 5 years ago. In doing so, she not only dealt a blow to House Frigga's reputation, but she also directly insulted the Crown Prince by breaking her engagement to him. Oh! Oh! I kind of figured. Wait, Beatrice was engaged to Aster? Yes, it was quite the scandal at the time. And Lucio wasted no time in pushing his daughter into taking Beatrice's place. Oh, is that why those three were so awkward last night? Honestly, the situation is just an absolute mess. That woman's return will complicate things. Beatrice's return complicates things? What do you mean by that? Do you find Beatrice's return to be inconvenient for you? What are you on about now? Please, don't insult my intelligence, Von Sanctus. Ugh. Fine, if you must know, my son was arranged to marry William's daughter, Laefe. Laefe. Since Beatrice showed no signs of returning, it was apparent that Laefe would inherit House Frigga instead of her. I know when my days are numbered, so I took preemptive action. William wanted a male heir, and I needed to preserve my house, so we both came to an accord. My son and Laefe were arranged to be wed. House Von Sanctus would have been absorbed, but at least my Jaden would stand at the helm of House Frigga. You nobles are absolutely awful. I should probably consider myself lucky. Think what you will. I wouldn't expect a commoner to understand. That's the problem with your generation. You have no sense of duty or obligation. Laefe has already expressed resistance to this marriage, even though she's well aware of the details. Now I worry she'll hide behind her sister to end the engagement altogether. Fair enough. If I ever mentioned any of this, as much as I had to think of, William's death would get her out of this arranged marriage. Should talk to her about this. Alright. It'd probably be best to move and follow up on the leads. But first, I think we have some adventurers in a tavern. Those are some very interesting looking people. I wasn't reading. Nah, this must be Beatrice Frege the First. The First? And according to the legend, she was one of the descendants of the 7 heroes of Guard. She joined a band of adventurers that are traveling across the nation. I could imagine the Fregas coming from such humble beginnings. There is a man there. Wait, what? What is it? What is it now? That muscular man in the corner, he just vanished. What do you want about? There was never a man there. Sorry, Tyrion, but he's right. No, I'm sure he was there. Are you feeling okay? Perhaps your lack of sleep is making you see things that aren't there.
Repario Arcanum!
What the fuck? What's that all about? It's a chair made from mahogany. Every part of this house just exudes wealth. Both husbands been stepping out of the common folk. A shelf filled with books. Fake books. They're completely blank. It's a door that leads into a hallway. Perhaps I should have considered locking it to keep out undesired guests. Yeah, fuck you too, man. Alright. We go back to Beatrice and... Can we just immediately start arguing? Oh, yes, we can. So we're gonna argue with this woman mourning her father on the next episode. See you then.